Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts I can make a difference to your life. A little bit more information before we pop on over to the podcast. So we're currently residing in the stunning province of Almeria in the south of Spain. As an extension of my mentoring and life coaching services, I'm now offering 4-night retreats tailored for women who are ready to prioritise themselves. So if you're a woman and you're interested in spending quality time with myself and 2 other participants, please visit my website for more details. Additionally, for business leaders and coaches who wish to have their own retreat here in Spain with their clients, I handle all of your logistics, including airport transfers, accommodation and meals for your group. If you'd like to request a retreat proposal, kindly send me an email. You'll get all of my contact information in the description below. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on another Effortless Attraction podcast. Well, today I am joined by a very beautiful, I can see her, but you'll see by the thumbnail how pretty she is, Shauna Corr. And I'm going to give you a wee introduction to what it is that Shauna does. Shauna is an EFT practitioner and high performance coach, as well as a wife and a mother of 3. So she's had 25 plus years experience in the corporate world, many of which has been spent coaching others, and has witnessed firsthand how limiting beliefs or lack of self-confidence can really hold people back from stepping out of their comfort zones, putting themselves forward for opportunities and really excelling in their chosen field. So in 2022, Shauna launched Tapping into Success, through which she helps groups and individuals to uncover what it is that's holding them back in life. And this could be stress, limiting beliefs, low self-esteem, etc. And she uses EFT or tapping. She helps them clear those blocks so that they can start to live the life that they truly deserve. Lovely, lovely, lovely. All keywords that I love. Limiting beliefs, lack of confidence. Shauna, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Evelyn. Thank you for having me. And thank you for that lovely introduction.
Yes, well, it always connects, it always resonates. Now, I'm going to start back. So you've worked 25 plus years in the corporate world, and in 2022, you set up your own business. Mm-hmm. Now, how did you step beyond limiting beliefs from becoming the employee to self-employed?
Well, now I need to kind of preface that at the minute I am balancing both. So I've reduced my corporate hours so that I can start to build up the business. And actually, that was one of the things that allowed me to actually step into tapping into success. So I have been qualified as an EFT master practitioner for 9 years. But I've been kind of quietly using it in the background with friends and family and maybe some colleagues that I knew were kind of open to this stuff. But it's almost been like a little secret of mine, because in my head, it didn't really fit with the corporate Shauna, the one who works for a multinational company and travels for work, and definitely before COVID was in the suit and the heels, and, you know, it was all very corporate. And so I had this little secret in the background, this kind of woo-woo side of me, and only those in my very close circle knew about it. So that was first of all, that was one of the things that held me back, was how can I now put myself out there as this person that, you know, helps other people, talks about things like limiting beliefs and, you know, managing stress and anxiety, and using this holistic, although clinically proven tool to teach people how to do all those things in their lives. That didn't fit with me with the corporate side. So I actually had to use the tool myself to kind of get myself beyond that limiting self-talk of, you know, you've got a good job, you're earning decent money, you're okay the way things are, just stick in your lane, you know, just stick with what you're used to and it's going okay. So why are you wanting any more? So I had to use the tool myself to kind of start to release some of those limiting beliefs, and also release that fear of judgment of others. You know, what will people say? What would the work ones say if they saw me doing something completely different? You know, putting myself on LinkedIn, adding this to my LinkedIn profile was probably one of the biggest things, was like, yes, I now do this other thing as well. And it's completely, I mean, it's so far removed
Yeah.
from my corporate career.
And I see so many people and I hear so many people talk about corporate world, and then it's like there's two separate worlds. And I think, look, at the end of the day, we're all people. But I'm going to get on to EFT in a moment. So bear with me, people. That's what it is in case you have never heard of it. But I see people, or as I hear people talking about corporate world, and I'm in the corporate world. And did you, as a corporate world person, because you still exist in this
Yep.
realm also, when you say there was this woo-woo side of Shauna, would you have looked at alternative people, or if people were coming on to LinkedIn or things like that, as woo-woo? Or was it like, hold on, this is a false belief. Nobody actually sees it as that.
I wouldn't have, because I was open to it, and I was probably judging others, assuming that they were judging, if you know what I mean. Assuming that these people, because you only see them in one part of their life, you only see them maybe in meetings, coming into work in suits. And so you kind of see them as one dimensional. And then when I actually got up the courage to go, okay, I'm going to launch this other business and I'm going to add this to my LinkedIn profile and start to post about what I'm doing for this as well, then suddenly people start to come up to you, even in the business, and say, I see what you're doing. Actually, I do this other thing outside work as well.
Mm,
Or, I'm really into meditation, or I've heard of EFT before. Let's have a chat about it. So sometimes it's just a matter of, once one person steps out a little bit, it kind of gives other people the go ahead to do it as well. And suddenly you start to realize that even the people that you only see in one context have all this other side to them as well. It's only really one
absolutely.
part of them that you're seeing.
Yeah. So there can be the words that we choose to use, or even the word corporate world, or people in suits. But at the end of the day, all people, and hopefully people with purpose, people with passion. And I see that
Exactly.
changing about a lot. I have a good friend there that goes to businesses and helps with leadership, as he says, like heart businesses, that want to see well by mental, physical, and spiritual well-being of their employees. Now, let's pop over to EFT. Is EFT
Mhm.
and tapping two separate words, or are they the same thing?
So they are two names for exactly the same technique. So EFT is the more kind of formal name, the more clinical name, emotional freedom technique. But tapping is the more just common name for it, because we literally tap with our fingertips on certain parts of the head and the body. So they're used kind of, I always just use EFT slash tapping, because some people may have heard of EFT and not realize that it's tapping, and vice versa. So I always just use them kind of both interchangeably. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. So it basically kind of tries to summarize in those three words what it does, because by tapping on certain parts of the head and body, we break the emotional connection to certain things. So it's giving us the emotional freedom from certain things going on in our lives. And that could be things like past trauma, memories of things that have happened in the past, memories, just it doesn't even have to be huge traumatic memories. It can be something that somebody said when you were 13 and it gets stuck in the back of your head. And every time you think about it, it's almost as if you're back there. That's the emotional reaction to it. Or it can be something happening in the present. So something that's really stressing you out. Stress is an emotional reaction to something. Or it can be something that you have coming up in the future. So you're going to have a difficult conversation or make a really difficult decision next week or next month, and it's stressing you out. Again, when you're thinking about it, you're having an emotional reaction to it. So by tapping, we are breaking that emotional reaction. We're giving ourselves the emotional freedom to, yes, we're still dealing with the same things, but we're dealing with it from a position of calm, rather than that kind of spark of emotion coming up in us as we're trying to deal with it.
Well, there you go. So tell me this just now, when we're on, you're dealing with groups and individuals, and we were very privileged that you give us your time on our group the other night. And I know a lot of the ladies, most of them, all benefited from it. Do you believe if EFT was introduced into corporate world or into businesses, do you feel that that would have a huge impact on employee turnover, employee sickness?
Absolutely, yes. And this is now my aim. So now that I have kind of gone through my own patterns and let go of my own limiting beliefs of seeing them as two completely different worlds, my aim now is to say, actually, these two worlds coexist, because Stress, yes, there's everybody's talking at the minute about workplace stress and the amount of, like, there's so many millions of days lost per year due to workplace stress, people phoning in sick, people actually becoming sick because of stress. But actually, stress is stress, whether it's happening in the workplace or it's happening at home. So actually, by going into a workplace and teaching this to teams of either managers, employees, whatever it may be, we are giving them a tool that they can use no matter where the stress is coming from. So it's not like I'm going in to teach and say, okay, use this the next time you have some stress in the workplace. I'm saying this is a tool that you can use no matter where the stress is coming from. So people who are dealing with stress at home are also that's also going to have an impact in the workplace. Your productivity is not going to be as good. The chances are you might have to phone in sick because you're overwhelmed with the stress that's going on at home. And vice versa, if you're stressed in the workplace, it's not as if you can kind of limit that to just your work hours. You take that with you. Once your body goes into stress, your body doesn't actually care whether you're at work or at home. So my aim now, and I've started to get into a few local companies here in Northern Ireland and teach this tool, is if everybody had this tool, for me, everybody would be managing stress so much better. So the stress levels would come down, the confidence would go up, self-esteem would go up, and that can only be of benefit both in home life and in the workplace as well. So I was doing a lot of work on one-to-ones with people who were coming to me about workplace issues. So, for example, people that um, knew they could do a job inside out, knew the job, could do it with their eyes closed, but just would not go for the job because of the thought of going for an interview, because they've maybe had a bad experience in an interview before, or they just don't have the confidence to put themselves forward for it. People maybe who want to go for the next step up and work, but the thought of stepping up in front of a room full of people and speaking, which may be involved if you move up in a company, that was holding them back. So stress, limiting beliefs, all of these things not only impact us personally, but they obviously also spill over into the workplace as well.
Yeah.
So if people could learn this tool, it helps in both sides. And that's one of the things I love about it, is even if you learn it for something very specific. So for example, the client that came to me about the interview stress and not actually avoiding interviews because of it. Once she had learned it for interviews, she was able to go do the interview, great. But she then had that tool. So she then goes home and has a stressful day at home, or the kids are stressing her out, or something bad happens in our lives, which does happen. She then has that tool that she can pull out at any time to use for any type of stress that's going on.
Mm.
And that's the thing that we need to remember with this tool. It's not just you learn it for one thing and that's it then. Oh, great, it's worked for that. Close it off. You then can apply it to everything that you have going on in your life. And I always say to people, try it, use it, try it as much as you can on everything you have going on and just see the results.
Yeah. Because we seek for so many other alternatives to relieve us, even from, not thinking about work. We look forward to the weekend, we look forward to the holiday, we look forward to the bottle of wine, for so many things, just to switch off. And it's not to say that it's a substitute for medication, but I would always say try something first before we do go down the medication route.
Exactly.
Because, as we say, that there's blocks, there's, and you're what you're doing, what I hear, Shauna, is you're working from the inside out when you do this treatment rather than the outside in. And the belief was formed from the inside, or we allowed something from the outside to do it. Now, it wasn't interview stress or anything like that, or lack of confidence that took you down this route. It was something different. Motherhood.
Yes, the joys of motherhood. Yes, Evelyn. So my story is how I found EFT tapping in the first place was when my first child was born. So she's now 17. So she was born. My husband and I got married late 20s. I was late 20s. He was early 30s. Everything was great. We both had really good jobs. I was working for a different big American company at that time, traveling a lot. Everything, from people looking from the outside would think, yeah, they've kind of got it together. We got married, and next stage, okay, we should have a baby and everything will be great and she'll be the icing on the cake and it'll be wonderful. And then reality hit. The baby came along, perfectly healthy, thankfully, but did not sleep for the first 2 years of her life. And it was like torture. I now know why they use sleep deprivation to get people to talk, because I would have said anything or done anything for a full night's sleep. She was up 5, 6 times a night and it became absolutely unbearable for us. I was back to work. So I was having to walk into work pretending that everything was okay, literally like surviving on caffeine to try and keep me awake throughout the day. Our relationship was suffering. everything. I mean, once lack of sleep hits, just everything goes to pot, really. There's no, you can't concentrate properly. And I went to the doctor when she was 2, when we had tried everything that all the good people giving advice. We had tried everything. Nothing was working. I went to the doctor. I explained what I've just explained to you. He listened sympathetically, kind of nodding, and probably thinking, yeah, neurotic, first time mother. Wrote out a prescription. And I came out of the doctor's surgery, and it was like the golden ticket, Charlie and the golden ticket. Oh my goodness, there's something here in my hands that's going to help this baby to sleep. But for some reason, something held me back from going to the pharmacy and picking it up. I went home and I Googled it, and it came out that it was a antihistamine. And this confused me because, I have hay fever. I know what an antihistamine is for, and I couldn't really work out why he was giving a 2-year-old this. So I called, got speaking to him, explained that I was in that morning, and asked why I've been prescribed an antihistamine. And he said, yeah. He said, the side effect of the antihistamine is that it makes you drowsy. So it'll help your baby sleep. And I thought, there is something not quite sitting with me to give a child a medication because of the side effect of that medication. I'm by no means saying don't ever medicate anyone, but really it should be for the main aim of the medication, not because of the side effect. And I thought, what is the long term prospect here? So she stays on that until a certain age, and then what, we put her on sleeping medication. I didn't really see how we could ever really get out of that. And it just struck me as they were treating the symptom rather than looking at the underlying cause of why she wasn't sleeping in the first place. So spoke to my husband and said, look, let's give me 6 months to try and find something else. By that stage, I was already kind of dipping my toe into self-help, alternative therapies, all that sort of stuff, reading the books. I knew there was kind of more that we could do for her, but I wasn't quite sure what. And we looked around, and I brought her to a few different people who helped in their own way. And then eventually I found EFT tapping. And when I learned how to use it on her, within like a few nights of tapping with her before bed, she was sleeping through the night. It was like a different child. It was like somebody had taken her and replaced her with an improved version who slept. And it was like we got our lives back. I'll never forget, like maybe the second or third night, actually coming back down the stairs to tell my husband she's already asleep. It was as if literally someone had handed us back our lives. We went on to have another 2 children who we say quite openly in front of her that they never would have been born if we hadn't have got that sorted out, because we couldn't have opened ourselves up for that again. She is absolutely thriving. She's smart. She's funny. She's everything else. We now have a problem getting her out of bed at the weekends. And she takes full kind of credit for me now having this business. Every time I'm asked to go somewhere or do a talk, she goes, "Oh, mommy, aren't you really grateful now that I didn't sleep because you found this technique and now it's your business?" I don't know if I'll ever be grateful for 2 years of no sleep, but I'm grateful that I found the tool, because I then kind of opened my eyes to it to think, okay, it's worked for that, but it's not just a tool for helping babies sleep. So what else can it be used for? And I started to really dig into the types of things it can be used for. And then when our youngest was born, she's now 9, I was on maternity leave and I had the time, and I went back and trained to be a practitioner. And I've since used it with other people for their children, and I've since used it in groups, charity groups, corporate groups now, thankfully. Um, Someone who suffered from agoraphobia, somebody else on like serious institutional childhood abuse from the past, all sorts of things. And sometimes that makes it difficult to explain, because people go, well, what does it work for? And it would actually be easier to say what it doesn't work for, because it's worth trying for everything. It also works on physical pain. So a lot of times physical pain is actually can be um, tracked back to stress and anxiety. So things like headaches, for example. Um, Try it first, as I always say. And I think I said this the other night on the call. My daughter a couple of months ago had a headache. She's studying now for A levels, and she complained of a headache. And I said to her, okay, well, we try tapping for a few minutes. And she was like, Mummy, can you not just be a normal mother and give me 2 paracetamol and a glass of water? And I said, well, if the tapping doesn't work, then it's not a stress related headache, and we will go for the paracetamol, but let's try it first. It does no harm. It's literally 4 to 5 minutes of tapping on your head and body. It can't do you any harm. And even if it doesn't help the headache, it will reduce whatever stress is in the body at the time anyway. So it's difficult to explain sometimes because it works so well on so many different things. Like I had someone in a group recently who had learned it for a fear of flying, had used it for the fear of flying, was now flying without a problem, but didn't actually connect it to, oh, it could be used for other things. She saw it as, oh, that's that thing for the fear of flying. So when I teach it to people, even when they come for a one-to-one about something very specific, I always say, try it on everything and just see how it works yourself.
Well, and I know people can't see you at the moment, but just when you
Mhm.
said something there, and I know you showed us where to tap. It was on the crown of the head, the back of the head, above the eyebrow, under the eye, at the side of the eye, under the nose, the chin, collarbone, under the arm. She said the
Yep.
bra strap, and then the inside of the thumb and fingers.
Yes.
Now, if people pop over onto your Instagram page, tapping into Success NI, there is a video that Shauna has done to show you where to tap on your body. Now, my wee thing would be the wording. Now, I'm an advocate for affirmations. So every day it's affirmations,
Hmm.
good, positive affirmations. And one thing you said the other night is you acknowledge what the problem is. Do not dismiss it, acknowledge it, which is good because it gives it light. So sometimes when I fly, when I'm on the plane, now I've
Hmm.
never allowed it to hold me back because if it did, I know I would never be here in Spain or, travel back and forth.
Yes.
And I know where it stemmed from.
Hmm.
I never had really a problem, but sometimes I feel that I'm closed in. So what I do now, I reserve a seat up. It's an aisle seat, normally up around the top 5 rows,
Hmm.
and that I can see in front of me, that I don't have to see all this crowd of people in around me. But sometimes it has taken place in mid flight where I feel I can't breathe. I can't
Hmm.
breathe. I can't breathe. So I do my ritual. But my then is I'm the master of my own thoughts. Breathe, Evelyn. Breathe, breathe. So I would like to know pre-flight because sometimes I think I have this mastered, and then all of a sudden, hey ho, there she comes,
Yep.
and I'm like, oh, the day again.
Yes. First of all, Evelyn, you said something very interesting when you were talking there. You said you know where it comes from.
Yes.
So there was an incident. There was something that happened that triggered this the first time.
Correct. It was actually when I was organizing, I'd done a retreat in Tenerife. I was the organizer of it, and there was one person flying by themselves to another airport, and they were anxious. I had
Hmm.
never had an issue before never. I flew by myself more times, and I sat with them that day and helped them breathe and relax. And I absolutely believe I took it on. I didn't clear
Yes.
myself off that because when I got on the plane that day, I kind of dozed off. I was at the window seat,
Hmm.
and the plane sat on the ground. So these are other issues too. If it sits too long, I'm the last one on
Hmm.
the plane because I'm ready to rock and roll when I get on that plane. It sat on the ground and the air was stuffy. So that's another thing that I need is cold air blowing at me.
Yep.
And I remember waking up just a matter of minutes. I had dozed off
Hmm.
and I couldn't breathe. And the people beside me were larger than me, and
Yep.
I felt hemmed in. I can't breathe. And I had to sit on my knees and lift my head above the seats so I could see.
Yep.
Um, so I thought I had it mastered, but it happened again and again. I says, right, I have to get. So I know that this is all false. That this is because it never was an
Yes.
issue before. But these are the things I either carry a fan, I need cold air blowing on me, and the plane sometimes has set a wee bit longer, which I'm prepared for. So it's all self talk.
Yep. Okay.
So, and I know it's all a false belief, but it's like that ego, that thing I'm saying, not the day again. You're
Yeah.
not doing
But
this.
what I would say is you are managing it in the moment with all of these modifications that you're making. The
Yes,
cold air, the aisle seat, the sitting near the front of the plane, and that is getting you through. But it's kind of getting you through with gritted teeth. It's like you have to do this because you want to be in Spain or you want to
yes.
be able to get home again or go somewhere else. Until you actually would tap on the incident that started it in the first place,
Okay.
that will always come up. Now you could use tapping in the moment. So as well as the cold air and the sitting in the aisle, instead of just the thought of I am the master of my own thoughts, you could be tapping on those points at the same time as saying that, which will get that quicker and deeper into your understanding. So that will bring your stress levels down, your cortisol level will go down, and you'll get through that flight. But until you actually deal with that belief in the back of your head from that time that you were with the person who was anxious and you've picked up on their anxiety, it will continue to come up because you're dealing with it in the moment, but you're not dealing with the deep rooted belief. So if you were to come to me for a one-to-one session, we would actually imagine that you are back in that first incident, and I would be asking you what's coming up in your body, how are you feeling right now, and that's where we would tap on the negative. So you
Well,
can
there we
tap on the
go.
positive in the moment of, I know I'm safe and I know this is a false belief and I can still breathe. And, flying is the safest form of transport and I'm good. I've done hard things before. You can do all that in the moment to get you through it. But actually, until you acknowledge how you felt the first time, it's never going to completely clear. So it'll come up every time or every other time or unexpectedly. You haven't actually cleared that deep rooted belief in the subconscious. So what we would do is I would say, okay, explain to me exactly how you're feeling, imagining that you're back in that moment. The thing about the human brain, it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined.
Yeah.
That's why when we're watching a scary movie, our logical mind is saying, oh, there's camera crew all around her and, don't be so silly. We know somebody's going to jump out. But when the person jumps out, we still jump out of our skin because our brain goes, oh my God, and still goes into that fight or flight. And that's the kind of the fun of it in some ways. So by me saying to you, bring yourself back to the first time, like close your eyes and actually imagine what you're wearing, where you're sitting on the plane, how warm it feels, the smells, how are you feeling? And you would probably explain things to me like, oh my God, I'm
And
starting to
even
feel
that's, you know what,
anxious.
even feeling that, I can feel my
I can feel the
chest
heart rate.
tightening. I can feel my chest tightening. And then
So we would
masks were introduced shortly after that too, which again then,
exactly, and I would say a lot of people are dealing with things like that from the differences we had to make for COVID as well. We now relate it back to, oh my God, remember the time I did it when I was wearing a mask, and that's where the kind of claustrophobia comes in as well.
yeah.
So that's the time when we would deal with the negative. And a lot of people who have done a lot of this work, as you have yourself, and they're very self-aware, are very much into the positive thinking. But and they sometimes say, oh no, I don't want to tap on the negative. What we need to remember is while we're tapping, we're not tapping in the negative, we're allowing it to come up to the surface. So instead of, oh, just Evelyn, just forget about that first time and just get yourself through the next flight, we're actually saying it's okay for me to say it out loud that that incident affected me and I've been carrying it with me for 6 years, whatever it may be, but now I'm open to letting it go. It's like you have to recognize that there's a problem first of all before you can actually let it go. Burying it down never did any of us any good. And again, any of us at a certain age probably grew up at a time where our parents, doing the best with what they knew, would have said things like, just get on with it, get up, get a smile on your face, get into school, you'll be grand, you'll be fine. We, in some ways, were never actually allowed to acknowledge this has really bloody annoyed me. And I'm going to say it out loud. So a lot of times people come to me to tap on things. And when I actually ask them to say the things out loud, it's the first time maybe they've even said it out loud to themselves.
Mm.
But it's a relief then. It's allowing all this. And I see it as like a release, it's like almost the toxicity of it is coming out in your words. And once it's out, then the next time you would get on a plane, you probably wouldn't get those symptoms because you've dealt with it's a bit like dealing with the symptoms rather than the root cause. Like I said about the baby not sleeping, you're managing your symptoms by putting all these modifications into your life when you get on a plane. You're not dealing with the root cause.
Yeah.
So
Because
through EFT,
ideally
we would deal with the negative.
my end goal, I really want to not have to pre-book a seat. Go and sit
Yep.
wherever you want because I've done that before.
And enjoy it. Enjoy the flight rather
Exactly.
than get through it. And that's what a
Yeah.
lot of people are doing with a lot of things in their life, Evelyn. They are getting through.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, they're getting through Monday to Friday so that they can live for the weekend. We want to get to the stage where we're enjoying all of the moments, and like none of us are ever going to be 100% happy all of the time, but we want to get ourselves to the stage where we're at least open to enjoying it, not,
Yeah.
right, okay, it's Monday morning again, let's do this, let's drag ourselves out of bed. We want to be getting to the stage where we're actually enjoying all of the time, not just the Saturday and Sunday.
Well, you have cleared up a whole lot of, the stuff there. And it's that's why I don't like pre-prepared questions. I love on the moment. And of course, me and my vulnerability saying, look, this is something that's holding that's in me.
Exactly. And that's where a lot of people will come to me too who are in this work, like yourself, who, you're actually coaching other people. You've been doing this for a very long time, your stuff, but there's maybe just that one thing. And it almost then we add another layer in because we go, I should be able to do this. I'm into my positive affirmations. I know the self-talk. I mean, you said yourself, I know it's not real, but just sometimes something gets stuck.
That's
And
right.
that's to me where tapping sometimes can be the final piece in the puzzle, where you
Yeah.
acknowledge that what it is, and then finally you let it go once and for all. And once it's gone,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, there we go. There will be a session book now once we finish this call. I think, because
Sold.
it's like, all these wee things. And Yeah, I'm sure Jim Kerr would be a much happier man too. Although I sit quiet, he says I can say there's nothing I say, Evelyn. I just sit there
Yeah.
and I self-medicate. I do have a couple of nice bottles of red before I get on the plane this end, and that's me
Oh, well, don't worry.
self-medicated.
I won't be asking you to cut that out. Don't worry.
Oh, that's brilliant. So, listen, ladies and gentlemen, for anyone listening, so this, I think, all of these things should be explored. At least if people try it, as you say, it's limiting beliefs, the stuff that is stuck in our head from some road is banging our head against the wall. Like me, saying, I know this stuff.
Hmm.
But that's why there's people like yourself, Sean, and that's why your child had to stay awake for 2 years for you to find EFT and
Exactly.
assist other people like myself, and then like many, many others. And again, it has a ripple effect.
Absolutely. And as I always say, Evelyn, people listening to this now, some of them this will really resonate with, where they will then go and look it up, hopefully look me up and start to do the work. Other people might go, yeah, that was an interesting chat, but I don't really need it right now. But at least it's in their heads that if 6 months down the line they suddenly realize that they have a fear of something, or something that's really stressful strikes them, which it does in life, they can at least go, what was that tool again? I'm going to go back and look at it, because some people need to wait until they really, really need it. Where I
Yeah,
would love to get to is that everybody's using it before they really need it, so that they're building up that resilience and they're lowering that stress level so that they can deal with everything that's going on around them better. But at least we're planting the seeds. That's the way I look at it. I plant the seeds. They may not come to fruition for 6 months or a year, but at least keep it in your head. There's this tool that you can use. It's so easily learned. It's so portable. If you've got a head and a body and you've got fingertips, you can use it. There's
yeah.
nothing to lose.
Can I ask just I know someone very close to me, and they would quite commonly have panic attacks.
Hmm.
I know from their past they have witnessed quite a lot of death. They have been in a car accident where someone has died. They've witnessed death, uh, and they feel that sometimes. I know that they said this driving down the road where they feel that they're swallowing their own tongue, that they're choking on. They're severe panic attacks, and they
Yep.
or a fear of they were asked to do something recently where it involved a stage. Now they're no novice to a stage; they've been there, but the fear of the panic attack coming on.
Hmm.
Have you had anyone with? I'm sure it's the same thing as the anxiety, panic, all the same
Yep.
family.
Absolutely. And again, there's two ways tapping can be used for panic attacks. It can be used in the moment that you feel the panic attack coming on, because most people who have panic attacks get that inkling. You don't go straight from 0 to 100. You kind of get that inkling off, oh, this could easily come on. You can start to use it in the moment to bring that cortisol level down, because what is happening there is your cortisol level is starting to spike and you're going to go into that fight or flight and then straight into panic. So you can use it in the moment. However, what I would say is the best way to do it is, again, like I talked about the flying, is to look back on when did the panic attack start? What was going on in my life when the panic attack started, and deal with it from the root cause.
Yeah,
So while you're managing kind of the root cause and going through some of the inner work that you would have to do, and it can be very emotional, and you're bringing yourself back to a time when maybe you would rather forget. But while you're working on that, if a panic attack is happening today, you can also use it in the moment to bring that stress level down. But hopefully, my aim when I work with people who take panic attacks is we deal with the thing that triggered it in the first place, or the life situation that was going on around them in the first place. And once we clear that, then they're not happening in the present, because we've actually cleared that deep rooted issue that caused the panic attacks in the first place. So I would kind of teach them at first of all to go, okay, if you happen to have one tomorrow unexpectedly out of the blue, these are the areas that you tap on, and you literally say, I am safe, or it's safe to relax. And hopefully that will reduce the severity of the panic attack in the moment. However, we need to actually look at why it started in the first place.
yeah. Enlightening. Thank you so much, Shauna. That has been, it's been a good chat. I've got a
You're
lot
very welcome. I could
from
talk all
this.
day about it, as you can
I
tell.
know, I know, I know.
I just love
Um,
it.
but there's so many things, and it's far from woo woo. Look, if somebody's aim is just there used to be an advert on TV, you don't need a pill for every ill or something to that effect.
That's true. Yeah.
And as you say, for yourself, and thank you that someone has to step forward. I always say if nobody steps on the dance floor, it'll always be empty. So hats off to you, Shauna, too, for having the courage and the confidence for stepping forth and say, look, this is what I do. I'm proud of it. I assist people. I help people. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not
That's
here to
it.
please everyone. I'm here to live my best life and help as many people and make a difference. What this podcast show is all about, making a difference for the better, what you are doing. And you've made a big difference to my life here today, Shauna, and I definitely will be, once we finish this here, scheduling in for an appointment with yourself.
Great.
So, ladies
Thank
and
you. And
gentlemen,
if you want me to fly out to Spain to do it 1-to-1, I can do that.
Shauna, tell us where people can reach you.
Okay, so I'm most active on Instagram. So it's Tapping Into Success on Instagram. Shauna Corr on Facebook, Shauna Corr Tapping Into Success. And my email address is shauna at tappingintosuccess.co.uk. But Instagram is where you'll see kind of other podcasts that I've done. You'll see that short tapping video around general stress and anxiety. That's just underneath my profile. So you can have a look there. You can read some testimonials and you can kind of just see what I'm up to and keep up to date with things, events and things like that.
Great. Well, Shauna Corr, Tapping Into Success. Thank you so much for your time today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to another Effortless Attraction